Yo, man, it has to be said. I gotta say this against the Dragon Ball fandom. You know, I'm definitely a Dragon Ball fan, hands down. Dragon Ball, all the series, from Dragon Ball, DBZ, DBGT, and Super. No, this ain't Frankie for One Piece. Dragon Ball is my favorite anime of all time, not the manga. The anime is my favorite anime of all time. But I've been hearing a lot of stuff over the last 2 years from the Dragon Ball fandom that's really, it's more than just irksome. It's problematic, to say the least. And to be honest with you, I'm gonna be coming out here and say it. This was sparked from like a whole slew of sources. Okay, Goku Black is too good of a villain for the Dragon Ball fandom. In fact, this arc is too good of an arc for the Dragon Ball fandom. And I say that with as much as I love the story of Dragon Ball, okay, as much as I love what's going on, I'm so sick of the lack of understanding from the fandom. This fandom is one of the worst fandoms I've ever encountered. And there's been some horrible ones. I'm not saying the worst. It's one of them. One of the probably top 10 worst fandoms I've ever encountered. Why do I make this? Now, let me throw this out there. I should have been throwing this disclaimer out there. This video may, in fact, deal with certain spoilers. I would suggest being caught up to, what is it, like episode 61 at this time, and about chapter 17 or so of the manga of Dragon Ball Super. Okay, episode 61 of Dragon Ball Super. Goku Black. We're finding out that he's, which we, guys like myself suspected, he was a version of Zamasu, excuse me, jeez, I had to think of the dude's name. Zamasu, okay? And it's a parallel, alternate reality of the present timeline. Apparently that's too difficult for people to understand. It's a very simple concept. People are talking about this time loop and stuff, how it's done, it seems problematic, but it's a very simple concept. You have a present timeline, and one got split. Now, understand, if you know about the Flash, whether it be Barry Allen and or Wally West, you're dealing with time travel. I mean, the X-Men, you got Cable. I can go all throughout. There's plenty of time travel. H.G. Wells' Time Machine. People need to learn and research time travel and all the craziness, okay? And get used to it in fiction. This is one of the most simplistic time things. I mean, others have talked about all the timelines in Dragon Ball and whatever, which is cool, which is fascinating. But Dragon Ball deals with pretty simplistically compared to how complex and complicated it can become. Okay? But people are complaining, oh, is it too complex for kids? You should deal with some of the series I did as a kid. Like, it's not that complicated, y'all. Are y'all serious? Like, this is simple. This is very simple stuff. It's not the most simplest, but as far as in complicated issues and subjects, like morality and stuff, it's very simple. And then you have people, why is that important? Because that's important, that's a backdrop of Goku Black's character. So time, control and manipulation. The power of the gods, if you will, quote unquote. Okay. Time rings up. How is this happening? You're having devices, some can say in a legitimate sense, plot devices. You're having instruments, devices, tools to be able to manipulate time. That is how these new timelines are being born. If humans are inventing a time machine, time rings make perfect sense. And when you start manipulating time, no matter if you think it's linear, cyclic, or a slew of other things, it starts breaking things apart, the continuity, or it breaks apart and creates a new continuity, or parallel dimensions. The norm, what was supposed to happen, is no longer. So now you have different futures, different presents, different paths that are created, branching off of. It's very, very simple. It doesn't get more simpler than that. Dragon Ball has actually used one of the simplest models. It's thrown in a bit of complexity, but he's using one of the simplest models. And people are complaining about that. How is Zamasu? And then you have people complaining about Zamasu and his whole thing of, oh, he's not, his explanation is bad. Sawyer said something very interesting. Sawyer 7 Age, with it being hypocrisy. You got a lot of people, I know, Sandro, Jean, Elgin, and I knew when I saw a video from one or a few that were talking about, Goku, Zamasu's seemingly flawed thought, is that they don't understand. Or why isn't it written this way? Because Akira Toriyama, or whoever had the initial idea of Zamasu, is pushing forth something very specific. Understand this. Zamasu is a god, a Kaioshin, a Kami. He's not mortal. He has a different perspective from mortals. He's asking a very legitimate question that a lot of people are not paying attention to. Why is it that we are allowing mortals, or humans, however you want to consider, to run around for all these millennia and they just do nothing but destroy? I want to eradicate. I want to enact divine judgment. You have gods of destruction not doing their damn jobs. He's like, I'm just supposed to sit here and do what? Or I'm supposed to be like the Guardians of old, supposed to be like a watcher in the Marvel universe. He's like, in Marvel and DC universe, he's like, no, I don't think so. Now, is he right? No, he's not inherently correct. But at the same time, he's not inherently wrong either. So it makes forth moral ambiguity. And him wiping out all the other gods, well, you can say, well, that makes him a hypocrite. It seemingly does at superficial face value, but at the same time, it doesn't. It's a paradox. The whole purpose of Goku Black's character is a paradox. Just like the time paradox, his entire character is a paradox. Because at one point, he's enacting justice. The gods have been sitting around and doing nothing. I've called out the Supreme Kai in the past in my exposed video. They do nothing. And they just sit and watch people like Frieza just destroy. And he's like, wipe it out. Again, he's not trying to, he's good. Why is he not destroying planets? Because he's not trying to destroy planets. He's creating his utopia. The animals or whatever, and just, man, why does he take all the gods, opposition? You can either consider it opposition, or you consider it that the Kais, he views the Kaioshins as the Supreme Kais is not good doing their job, so they need to deserve to be wiped out. Everybody who brings forth this bad antithesis of his utopia, they gotta go. And so I'm in a neutral position, because while it seems hypocritical on face value, at the same time it makes perfect sense from Zamasu's perspective. Now, the reason I say this is such a bad, why such a the Dragon Ball fandom doesn't deserve him. It's just really good, but it's bad from their perspective because they keep thinking of the series as very simplistic. Let's keep it real. They don't view the complexity in the villains. They forget about Mercenary Tao. Oh, Son Goku doesn't kill. Mercenary Tao. They forget about Demon King Piccolo and his motivations and his desires. They forget about Piccolo. Well, Piccolo Jr. never was a villain, actually. Neither was Tien. Very much antagonist. They forget about, I ain't gonna talk about the garbage and some red ribbon on it. They forget about, Rats and Apple. Vegeta. They remember the great fight. Vegeta is a villain. And now, where he's come from being a villain to being an anti-hero, if not a hero at this point. And the character development and growth. It's like they forget that Vegeta was a villain. Frieza, he's not as iconic as people want to make him out to be. Sadistic. He's fairly simplistic at times, with a few wrinkles of complexity. And that's the basis of a lot of people's view of a Dragon Ball villain. Frieza. That's the only one. Then you look at Cell, who... More imperfect Cell was more of the villain. But you look at Cell's character. And he goes from this very villainous state, this very destructive, he's power hungry, and then this achieving perfection. And that whole thing, the psyche of Cell was pretty complex, actually. And then Majin Buu, oh my goodness, Buu was all over the place. But Kid Buu, one of my all-time favorite villains, I can argue one of the top villains of all time. Pure evil, the embodiment of chaos and destruction. Dudes just want to dismiss Kid Buu like it was nothing. Oh, he's mindless. He was mindless? He was having pure enjoyment from killing and destroying, committing genocide of multiple planets. And that's just, it's just mindless. Mindless doesn't have a fixated focus to go to a planet to kill. Oh, I didn't get what I want, I'm going to kill them all. Buu was never mindless by any means. You get Resurrection F, and people are having problems with the antagonists of Dragon Ball. I'm like, you have good, at least a lot of good, if not great, antagonists in Dragon Ball, and people just want to superficially whitewash it. So when you have an antagonist and a villain in Goku, Black, and Zamasu, they don't even know how to receive properly. Oh yeah, it's cool, it's badass, which is true. But the character of Goku Black is fascinating. It brings forth a different perspective because he's made to be a god. And here you have a mortal being chummy, being, A-okay. Now, we don't know why. Hopefully, we'll get this explanation. I would love this. Why Zamasu had these original thoughts to begin with. But even if we don't get that, it still makes sense. Ben should have had this. A god complex. And by nature, this is you see this a lot. The superior, we are superior, the superior race mentality. And it goes so far as to where he's willing to wipe out his own. And it kind of reminds me, you can't even say it's racist because he wiped out all the Kais. So it reminds me, but in a reverse manner, of what was his name? Oh, it was the one ape in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. If you watch the movie, Caesar's homeboy, he rolled with him strong. He kind of flipped the script. He was so into his hatred that he killed his own. But he had a lot of bad stuff done to him by humans. This is on the exact opposite end of the spectrum from that. And a lot of people want to, and let me finish this video. A lot of people want to compare him to Anakin Skywalker and say, hey, come to the dark side. But there are three fundamental differences between a character. And I will also talk about, because Sandra brought up, if you watch this video, I did watch at least half of your video about the Punisher. And I'll explain why he's different from the Punisher as well. But in regards to Anakin Skywalker, when he became Vader, Anakin was pushed at because Obi-Wan. On the opposite end, Gowasu was on some pacifist status. Obi-Wan was far from a pacifist, and he had went from giving Anakin freedom to trying to hold Anakin's potential back. Gowasu's not trying to hold Zomasu's potential back. He's trying to have him become a Kaioshin. Anakin was holding him back from becoming a Master Jedi. That's point number one. Point number two is that Anakin had all this prophecy, this child of prophecy, if you will. Zomasu did not have that. Point number three, Anakin is at least somewhat justified in where he comes from. Zamasu is somewhat justified, but at the same time, not really, because you have a system set in place to deal with foolishness. In the case of Zamasu, in the case of Anakin, the old Republic was falling apart. The Sith were on the rise. The Sith Lords were on the rise. The Jedi Council, if you don't want to consider them corrupt, they were outdated. They had plenty of problems. Zomasu's in a universe that doesn't really have these problems. He has his own personal problems. Instead of in Anakin's case, there were legitimate problems. Now, when it comes to the Punisher, Frank Castle, okay, there are three distinct considerations. Zamasu's number one. Zamasu's a villain, and Frank Castle, the Punisher, is an anti-hero. That's a distinctive difference. Number two, Zamasu doesn't have, seeming at this point, a reason for his hatred. Frank Castle had his family murdered and watches this stuff go down. He has a reason for why he acts. And point number three, Zamasu is once again, he's a god. Where you have Frank Castle is very much a human. A very gifted human, but he is a human nonetheless. And his perspective is very human. Zamasu's perspective is that supposedly of a god. Not all gods, but of a god. And you're coming from one who's been watching the world go round, one who's very much mortal. Different points of reference, ladies and gentlemen. Understand that. Unexpected one to like, comment, subscribe. Tell me your thoughts on this subject. And what do you think, man? Do you think the Dragon Ball fandom be tripping like I do? Or do y'all think people are right on the money or whatever? And we'll see where the story with Zamasu heads. I say it's still a little bit too premature to call out the story writing. I think there's still much more developments to be done in this arc, but we shall see. Alright, y'all, have a beautiful day, beautiful night.